You guys know how to say his last name? I don't. Obligation.
Nick is good.
Nick is good. Chief Nick. You know, he's got all the data, all the facts. He knows what's going on, and all the technical things and stuff like that. So if you want to hear what's going on, really, you know, he's the guy. And then we have Robert Davis and your brother Mark Davis. They own the Elite Arms and Supply here in Manteca, and they've been in business 11 months now.
Yep.
And they know what's going on and all the laws that are coming around, what laws have changed, how things have happened. We want to get past, in this meeting, we want to get past all the political BS, if you will, you know, all the opinions. And so this is going to be a factual, straightforward discussion, not in opinions, but straight facts, because you can't make a decision if you don't have the facts.
So how we'll start it off is, obviously I want this to be an open discussion so that, you know, you can ask the questions that are puzzling you right now. Just a little background. Obviously the big push towards what they're calling gun control was as a result of the latest shooting they had that was at Sandy Hook. And that was, you know, I'm not going to say it's a knee-jerk reaction, but it's an issue where they thought, I won't say they thought, let me correct myself, they felt the need that there was some issues countrywide that needed to be fixed. Now, for California, all of us who are here in California, what they're proposing a lot lines up with what California already has. So for us as a state, with the exception of they've actually itemized particular what we call assault weapons, there's really not going to be a huge change for the state of California. I mean, as it is now, certain assault rifles are banned from you. You can't purchase them now. We can't purchase high-capacity magazines. So those things are already taken place in California, and I'll defer to the experts because they're the ones that are selling it. They know the definitive restrictions on what you're allowed to purchase as a citizen. Now, one of my big pushes is feeding back.
Yeah.
One of my big pushes isn't so much gun control. My big push is responsible gun owner. And that is absolutely huge for me. And I've been quoted in the paper. I've made both print media and television where I've made the comment that it's the responsibility of the gun owner to protect their gun. A bad guy that's going to go out and do a robbery or that's going to do a drive-by or whatever he's going to do, that he's not going down to Big Five. He's certainly not going down to Elite Arms and walking and goes, you know, I'll take that rifle off the shelf. What's happening is we don't have responsible gun owners, and they're allowing their guns to be stolen. That's our problem. And I won't name names, but we've had burglaries in town where we've lost 53 guns out of probably a $3,000 gun safe. Because it was inconvenient for him to close the door on his safe and lock it. So while I understand that we shouldn't have to lock our doors, you know, we shouldn't have to lock our cars, we should be able to walk out in the morning and start our car and leave it running, but that is not the society we live in, and we have to help ourselves fix it. And until we can get back on track, then we have to protect ourselves and help protect everybody else. Currently, and if you guys want to explain the process when they go in to buy a gun, it's different for law enforcement when we go in.
Yeah.
Actually, these guys have probably seen my letters come across their desk quite often. There's an exception for law enforcement when it's duty related regarding the wait period. But I'll let them explain the actual process for purchasing.
Okay.
Currently, right now, California has the 10-day background check, where that's the big discussion going around, universal background checks for firearms purchases. There's a lot of yes and no and opinion as to what that will do, whether or not that will solve the situation that they want to solve. The process as it stands now, you're going to come into our store, you're going to be fingerprinted, you're going to fill out 2 separate forms with all of your personal information, the type of firearm, etc. And then after that you're all done, you're going to sign off an affidavit that you're not a felon and you did not lie and you did not misrepresent yourself.
Right.
And then that gun goes in the safe for 10 days. And during that 10-day period, the state of California will take their time and they will eventually tell us, or not tell us, if you don't hear from us, you've been approved. And you come and pick up your firearm after that 10-day wait. Now, a majority of the country does have instant background check. Usually in most of the states, it's under 30 minutes. Or you can go in and the federal government runs your ID and boom, you're approved or not approved. California does have a 10-day waiting period, and that's just the way it's always been here for a very long time. So there is the argument of the universal background check. That's part of what they're debating. Now, rather than get into opinions on whether we agree or disagree with the universal background check, he doesn't want to get into opinions, and so that's where we're going to avoid that.
I think one
California has universal
Your
background.
handgun. Yes. There's a difference between handgun and long gun in California.
Okay, yeah.
In the state of California, at least for right now, this changes in 2014. As of right now, you purchase a handgun here in the state of California, it is registered to you. You start a background check to that exact pistol. Now, California has a roster, which we won't go into, but it's basically a limited number of pistols you're allowed to buy here that they consider safe. That pistol is registered to you as a buyer. If you buy a long gun, that is not, the long gun itself is not registered to you yourself. It is a blank on the form. They do not register long guns. You go through the exact same background check. Now, part of what the argument is carrying around nationally is the federal government wants to have a universal background check and registry.
For long guns.
For all the
everything.
guns.
Oh,
And
okay.
that is the big thing. That's where
that's
the
what I thought.
NRA and everyone else gets into such a brawl over. And that again is, your opinion versus their opinion, whether or not registry means confiscation, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
But as it stands right now, we have universal checks here for every firearm you buy in California.
Right.
And that's how it stands right now. That's one of the key points. He sort of stole my thunder there. Responsibility in your gun ownership. We see a lot of people.
Every day.
Every day. We have somebody come into our store that says, my guns were stolen. I'm here to
10
replace them.
guns, 5 guns.
10, 20 guns, whatever it happens to be. Now, when we're gun shop owners, right? We're going to background check every one of you when you come in the store. That's what happens. Now, what we don't see in our store are criminals. We don't see the gangbangers throwing all the colors and everything else. I think we could count on one hand the number of people that we've went, no, take a hike. And one time there happened to be undercover Manteca PD standing right behind the guy, and it was the greatest thing ever. And, but that's the thing is they're not shopping. Now the guy in Sandy Hook, that incident in Sandy Hook, goes to exactly what the chief said, exactly what we said. Criminals. The reason we're having this conversation about gun control, criminals do not pay retail for their firearms. They don't. Exactly. But if she had done exactly what he said, and exactly what we tell every customer, do not leave your guns unsecured. Because honestly, the criminal shops at all of your stores. He doesn't shop at ours. And so we don't have to turn away criminals. Because they don't come in there. They're on camera, they're fingerprinted. They don't come in my store, they come in yours. And if everyone in this room were to take their guns and lock them in a safe, I mean, realistically, I'm sure there's a lot of hunters in here. You all buy shotguns. You know what a shotgun, good duck gun goes for. You could have an alarm system on your house and a safe for the cost of that one shotgun. So, is it really so difficult to lock your guns up, to put an alarm on your house, so that the chief doesn't have to send his people to take that report of 50 guns missing out of your house?
Just as a real short example, I'll come in Monday morning and I'll read the significant events, and I think, man, we've had a really good weekend. We've taken 5 guns off the street. 3 of the 5 guns were stolen. 2 were just unreported. That eventually we'll find out they were stolen. So I think that's a good weekend. And then I'll read down through my significant events and realize that we've had 8 guns stolen.
8 more.
8 more guns. So I'm in the whole 3 guns. My guy, and it's not a everyday occurrence, but it's a couple times a week that our officers in town are seizing guns from people. It's just drugs and guns go together because they feel they need to protect themselves. So, you know, we'll do a search warrant or a probation search or whatever. We'll get drugs and we'll get guns. And again, it goes back to that same thing. You know, I'll recover 3 or 4, and then I lose 5 or 6, and it's almost like this battle I can't win. And I do. I have to ask the public. I have to ask you as gun owners, and I'm a gun owner too. But you have to be responsible, and it's mainly it's when you're gone. It's not when you're home that you have to worry about. It's when you leave. It's just that couple minutes that you can help. Again, we wouldn't be here today if that was the issue. And if you look at the majority of shootings that we had recently, the big shootings, they were a result of either stolen guns or guns getting into the hands of a relative because it wasn't a responsible owner. It just is.
We've sold what 1,600 guns in 11 months. Wow. And that's a lot. We're proud because we're business owners, and that's what we're doing. We've had exactly 1 federal trace for a gun from the ATF. A trace.
What's that?
Where
Means
the
that if
ATF
the
will
gun-
call
if the
us and
gun-
want to know where it went.
Yeah, if the gun was recovered at a crime scene or stolen or anything else, the ATF will call us and do a background check on the gun. So it goes from the gun manufacturer to the distributor to the dealer to the owner of the firearm. We've had 1 out of 1,600 weapons that we've sold that actually was involved in some sort of trace. We have no idea what that trace was for, but out of 1,600 weapons that we've sold, only 1 was actually involved in anything that the law enforcement or the federal government cared about. Everything else was secure. So you can see, if you take care of your weapons and you take care of, you know, putting them in safes and bolting your safes down, not just having a safe. I
Don't believe just because it was heavy getting in, it's too heavy to move.
Yeah, the bottom of a safe is 16 gauge sheet metal. We're sheet metal guys. That's where we come from.
Yep.
It's 16 gauge sheet metal in the bottom. What
Cut
do?
it right
They
over.
tip the whole damn thing over and they cut the bottom out and they take all your gun. It takes like 10 minutes to break into the best safe on the market.
Well, you need to bolt it down
Bolt
first.
it to the
Oh,
floor.
Bolt it down and get an alarm. Because we've had many of the customer come in and say, well, I had them in a gun safe, but I thought the gun safe would be too heavy to move. And I asked someone that actually told me that my safe weighs like 1,500 pounds. I said, oh man, they'll never be able to move that.
Guys to take
And I said, how'd they get it in? And I said, they used this great big dolly. And it was like a light slowly came on. So criminals won't use a dolly to take your safe out then? And he was like, I'm like, come on now. And one gentleman left a bunch of metalworking tools in the same closet as his gun safe while he was on vacation.
Stock eating.
This guy here's had a question for me.